So what you got next?
Ooh, for my second one, again, in no particular order, I'm going to have to go with Poltergeist. It's a classic. May not be the scariest thing out there, but it is such a well-made haunting film. And you have the classic, this was built on an Indian gravesite. Ah, it's overdone by this point, but it's a classic haunting film. And again, the practical effects are really well done. It is scary how good some of the practical effects look for like what could be seen as a goofy 80s horror movie.
And the actors involved. I love Craig T. Nelson. I know people make fun of him, whatever. He was amazing in Coach. But as the dad in Poltergeist and Poltergeist 2, so good. Poor Heather O'Rourke, she's the little girl. She is just phenomenal in that this is 1980s. We don't really do green screen, blue screen, CGI stuff. And you believe wholeheartedly that she's seeing and experiencing these things. And then her mom, Jo Beth Williams, we feel the angst and the fear that she's going through as her poor kids are just experiencing these horrific things in their house. And then I got to get her name right. I always forget her name. Zelda Rubinstein as Tangina. She is just like, she enters the frame and you're like, she's creepy as hell, but she's the good guy. And it's like, oh man, her little body, her little voice, just the character she played. It's so perfect.
Carol Ann. It's so much of that film just comes together in such a perfect way. I am impressed with the set they designed or they found. That staircase, for no reason, is the creepiest goddamn thing I've ever seen. Because it's like, why would you build a staircase like that? But there it is. And it has like no plot relevance, but it's just the way the house is constructed is so, how do I put it? It's so brutal to human life. It's like it's hostile to human life. The architecture is hostile in its nature, and it's like that. You wouldn't expect it to, but it really aids the horrific elements of the film. Not to mention the weird intestine door and the actual skeletons in the pool.
I was just going to say there are a lot of fun facts, also horrific facts associated with the Poltergeist series. Obviously, we all know Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann. She passed away from essentially stomach blockage during the filming of the third one. Terribly sad. Her sister, Dominique Dunn, she passed away in real life. She was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Now, these are less interesting, but the Native American who's in the second one, he passed away, but he had cancer at the time. And then the old man in the second one also passed away, but I believe he was also some terminal illness that was getting him in that movie too. But there are a lot of like weird facts like that surround this franchise. And then you have, like you said, they found it was cheaper to get real skeletons for the pool scene. So they did, as opposed to make fake ones. And I don't know if Jo Beth Williams, who was the one who ended up in the pool, knew that at the time, but you watch it now and you're like, oh man, that's nasty. I feel bad for her.
Those were alive people once. Yeah. I mean, even the second and the third films are great. I enjoyed a few of the shots in the second film. Though that one's a little creepier because you have the creepy old fart who
that guy. Like we talk about horror villains, and Freddy and Jason and Michael come to mind. That dude, like if you see anybody that resembles anything like that, which you can see in real life, freaks me the fuck out. Because you go back to that and you're like, dude is creepy as shit.
And he's not like the horror villain that'll kill you. He's the horror villain that'll touch you in your no-no square. Yeah. Also, the scorpion shot in that movie is just oh.
What's the scorpion shot?
When he drinks the
worm?
It was a worm. I'm sorry, I thought it was a scorpion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. And that's why I also enjoyed the third one. And I don't know if other people feel this way, but I really think it's a pretty good series across the three movies. The remake, it just redid what we already knew, and it had some special effects that were different, but meaning CG. But the third one with Tom Skerritt and the apartment building in New York City, I really dig that storyline too. Now that is definitely a timestamp of late 80s, early 90s, but I enjoyed it.
And the mirrors, the tricks
Yeah.
with the mirrors is like my favorite piece of that film. Just thinking in my head how they made that work. And they didn't have CG. Well, they did have CG, but it was not powerful enough.
They were still using practical effects. Now, the other fun fact about this is there's always a discrepancy or an argument. Who directed this movie? Now, we all know Tobe Hooper was the one who was officially said to have directed, who was known for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but there's always been this underlying comment that it was really Steven Spielberg who directed it, and Tobe Hooper was on set. So that's always a little controversy. I'm always curious to learn more. So if you guys know more about it, let us know. But I'm still under the belief that it was Tobe Hooper, because there's a little, I think there's more of his sense on it. Although, like George Lucas producing his stuff, you knew it was his stuff. So I think that's where Steven Spielberg came in.